What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, thanks for tuning in. Today is going to be a big day. As I'm sure you can tell by the title already, I went through the last 2 or 3 years of purchase history to figure out how much I have put in to my 7.3 liter Powerstroke. I will say that I knew it was going to be a lot. Now, that being said, it was definitely more than I expected. So with that, we're going to roll this intro and get into the details of how much I have actually spent building my 7.3 liter Powerstroke. Let's go. Alrighty, so we're going to jump right into it. I have a whole list of stuff on my phone that I will be referencing. I think I have everything recorded. I'm not going through and listing off any of the just general maintenance stuff. It comes along with whatever vehicle you own. So this is going to be all upgrades, modifications, cosmetic stuff, just general stuff that you don't really have to do for the most part. So yeah, we're going to get into it. I'll be reading off the list. Going to start on the outside of the truck, going around the exterior, move to the engine bay, and then finish up inside the truck. One last thing before we get started, leave your guesses down below. I want to see who can guess the closest to what the final total will actually be like. Don't cheat. Don't go ahead and go back and edit your comment, whatever. I just want to see who can guess the closest of how much I have into this truck. To help you out just a little bit, it is a 2000 F250 extended cab long bed, and I bought it 2.5-ish years ago with 109,000 miles on it. Leave your guesses how much I have into this truck, total, modifications, and purchase price. Let's see who can get the closest. Alright, so here we go. Like I said, the truck is a 2000 F250 extended cab long bed, 7.3 liter Powerstroke. Obviously, when I bought it, the truck had 109,000 miles on it, and what I purchased it for is $14,500. Some of you guys may say that's a steal. Some of you guys may say I got ripped off. Completely depends on when you buy it, where you buy it, and who you're buying it from. So that's what I got the truck for in my area. That was a pretty solid price for the truck that I got. Especially nowadays, I think this truck would have been quite a bit more expensive. The market seems to be blowing up on these things, but bought the truck starting price at $14,500. One of the first things I did was put a leveling kit on the truck. You can see it sits pretty darn close to level. Technically, I think the front is about an inch lower than the back, but pretty darn close. And what I did is I went with the factory X-Code springs that came from Ford. It is a factory part number that came with the snowplow prep packages. Look it up if you want to know. I guess I should say almost everything I'm going to list on this truck should be linked in the video description below if you want to check it out. People are always asking me for links. Check the description below. If you don't find it there, then I will see if I can help you out to get a link to it. But X-Code springs up front, that leveled it out just about perfectly for an F250. Those springs cost a total of $337.48. So as you can see, they look just like the factory leaf springs, the nice 2 leaves up front. I wanted to maintain that factory appearance. They are just a little bit stiffer. Ride quality did not change much, but it did bring up the front a good amount to level the truck out. Along with that, we'll stay with the front end. I went with a fully adjustable track bar to recenter the axle. That was $99. I replaced all the steering components with Moog steering components, everything down there brand new. That was $248. I replaced the hubs, the hub bearing assemblies, with Timken hubs, both sides. That was a total of $168.78. And with that, that is basically the whole front suspension of the truck, completely replaced and brand new, functioning perfectly. Some of them, or most of it, probably still had a decent amount of life left on it. But when I got the truck, I wanted to go through everything and get it nice, new, operational. That way I know the maintenance that has been done to it already. Come on, camera. Camera doesn't want to focus. But that is what is done up front. Moving on to the front up here. This set of headlights that I built is a full projector set. Not sure how well you'll be able to see it in there. There you go. That's a little bit better. But completely took apart and retrofitted these headlights to fit H1 projectors in there, and I absolutely love them. I have a whole build series on this headlight setup if you want to watch it, but I absolutely love these headlights. They are phenomenal. This headlight build cost me $280 to build those. It wasn't cheap, but it was far more expensive than paying somebody else to do it for me. So that's what I'm into, the headlights of these trucks. I think they look good and function phenomenally. Going down here, I have my rigid D-Series fog lights on both sides there. Again, absolutely love these fog lights. If you want a super bright fog light that doesn't blind people on the road, road legal, totally DOT certified, rigid fog lights are the way to go. And of course, it's rigid, so you get a lifetime warranty. If anything ever happens to them, they'll be replaced. Those were not cheap. Those cost me $218 when I bought them. If you're looking for more light on the road, those things are phenomenal. Much like projectors, they also have a cutoff line. Not nearly as sharp as the projectors, but they do have a cutoff line, so they literally will not shine above a certain point. I have a video on those as well. I'm going to stop saying that. I have a video on almost everything I've done to this truck at this point. Last thing up front here is the ranch hand grill guard. I picked this up used off of somebody that totaled their truck. I picked it up for $350, which is probably half the price, maybe a little bit less than half the price of what they are brand new. Totally awesome. At some point in the near future, I'm going to try to weld up a full steel bumper onto it and replace the factory one. But that's finishing it up front. So moving along to this side of the truck. Start with the mirrors that I have on this side, or it's on both sides, but I went with a 17 plus style Super Duty mirror. I like the look of the 08 to 16, but I wanted something a little different, and at the time there were very, very few people putting these mirrors on the older trucks. The mirrors I bought, they're no longer sold, but I have found a couple other companies that seem to have good reviews, and I put the links down below, but they have fully power adjustable. I completely built and wired the entire harness for this. My truck didn't have power mirrors to start with, so I had to go through and do all of that. It wasn't terrible, but it was time consuming. But I wanted power mirrors, and so now the mirrors are fully power adjustable. They have running lights on them. I could hook up turn signals. I haven't decided to yet, and I have them hooked up for fully for the heated defrost setting. So they are very, very functional mirrors. Absolutely love them. The whole install with those wiring harness supplies, mirrors, and everything cost me about $300 for those mirrors. Now, some of you guys that are new here are probably asking, what is that thing in the bed of my truck? I'm in a wheelchair. So what that thing actually does is when I hop into the truck, I hook it up to my chair, picks up the chair, puts it into the bed of the truck for me, and the chair rides back there. I'm not going to go into full details on the cost of that or my hand controls. I can do a video on that later, an entire video on the hand controls later if anybody's interested. But I'm not factoring that into the cost of the truck itself. So, got the mirrors done. Another thing you will see on the outside of the truck is I have it tinted. I went with a full XPEL tint all the way around. Their second highest line of tint. Absolutely love it. Completely changed the look of the truck, and the amount of heat that it blocks out of the truck is phenomenal. But because it's such a high quality brand, it was expensive. The tint on the truck Cost me $700 to do all the way around, including the windshield. The windshield is much, much lighter than the windows. It is a full 20% all the way around the truck, and I think it's 55% on the windshield, which works out really, really nicely. Still able to see well at night, but completely, or really does a good job of blocking out both the heat and visual going into the cab. Moving on to there, the next very large, big ticket item was wheels and tires. This is a full set of 20x10 hostile sprockets with -19 offset, wrapped in Wrangler Duratrax 33x12.5. Really like this setup, and it fits just about perfectly. Overall, the tires are quiet. They look good. Obviously, they're filthy right now, but super happy with this wheel and tire choice. I think it fits the truck perfectly. The wheels and tires were $2,400 brand new. I did get a bit of a discount from when I bought them, so it would have been more than that. I think it would have been closer to $2,700 or $2,800, but I paid $2,400 brand new for wheels and tires all the way around. Not a cheap thing to do. Last thing on the outside, I actually don't have it on my list, but I remembered it. I have amp research power steps. Let me grab my keys and show you guys those. So moving on, in order for me to be able to stand up and actually get into the truck, installed amp power steps, and they work phenomenally. I've had them for close to 3 years at this point, maybe more. Haven't given me any real bad issues yet. I did have to clean them up and lube up the arms once, but that was driving through some pretty nasty snow and slush. They just got a little frozen up, but overall, love them. And I like how they tuck away, of course. So these steps I installed myself. Didn't have to pay for labor on that, but the steps themselves were $1,400. Yep. Expensive thing, but those allow me to drive the truck, and I think they complement the truck nicely. I will say, of all the things on my truck, the amp steps probably get some of the most compliments. It's just kind of one of those things, especially on these older rigs, you don't see very often. But expensive, $1,400 for the steps. One last thing I forgot to mention on the outside of the truck was Bilstein shocks all the way around. I think that was $180 for the full set. With that, I think that's the last thing on the outside of the truck to really go over. Exterior's done. Let's jump under the hood and show you what's done under there, because there is a lot to look at. All right, so here we go, looking under the hood of the truck. Did try to clean it up a little bit for you guys so it looked presentable. But as you can tell, there's been some work done under here. Hasn't been cheap. I guess we'll just start with my list in order. Turbo pedestal. Got the delete turbo pedestal to get rid of the back pressure valve, the leaky point there. That was $110. Underneath the valve covers, which you can't see, I have a brand new set of Alliant power injectors, 160cc AC code injectors. During that injector job, I did glow plugs, new valve cover gaskets, and harnesses. That entire job altogether cost $2,034. Not cheap, especially going with the brand new injectors instead of rebuilt ones, but the truck performs phenomenally. Next up is the CNC H-pop lines, which again, kind of hard to see. They're wrapped back in loom to keep them protected. All the H-pop lines are replaced and a crossover installed. The CNC H-pop lines are high pressure oil pump lines. Cost $121. Nothing crazy. Next up on the list is the S&B cold air intake that you see here. I'll get to all that wiring in a second, but S&B cold air intake made a huge difference on intake air temperatures. If you haven't seen that video, go and check it out. It made a much larger difference than I actually expected. S&B intake, that cost $350. Next up on the list is the KC 300X Turbo you see sitting back there. KC 300X 6368 0.84 housing turbo, and I gotta say that it matches or pairs up with the AC code injectors phenomenally. So when I installed the KC Turbo, I ended up getting a pusher intake, all new roofs or boots and clamps from Riff Raff boost fooler there, new intercooler piping to replace my original factory stuff. This is still factory intercooler piping minus that pusher intake there, plus a boost sensor and the attachments to go to my edge insight. That entire job, all the parts and bits included, cost me a total of $2,257. Not cheap. Super happy with how it turned out. That's including the powder coating of all the pipes as well. Next up on the list that comes with the injectors and tuning is I originally had the Hydra chip with the stock Hydra tunes when I had the truck with stock injectors. That was $350. When I put the new injectors in, I required custom tunings because they are single shot. So I decided to give 1023 a try and use their tuning, and I have been super happy with their tuning. Both Brian Jelich and 1023 have phenomenal tunes, but the tuning from 1023 to change it cost another $200. Down right here in front of us, looking at the Mishimoto coolant reservoir. Nice, I believe it's aluminum. Super solid tank. Get rid of the factory plastic one. Mine wasn't leaking yet. I'm sure it would have eventually. And I wanted to replace it because this looks so much better. So that was the coolant tank with powder coating was $370. Getting into the fuel system of the truck. As you guys can probably see, I don't have a fuel bowl in my truck anymore. I removed the factory fuel bowl with the CNC 4-line fuel bowl delete and 4-line feed kit. Really nice quality kit. Along with that, it is being powered by an AirDog 165 pump, which has been doing well as well. That was not a cheap modification. The whole fuel system, everything, parts and bits and pieces, and the kit and the AirDog, that was $1,400, give or take, to do the fuel system. And since then, I have made my own changes to it, which you see here. I converted it into a 4-line feed kit into a regulated return kit. Again, I have videos on this going into more detail. I'm not going to go into all the detail on this, but converted my CNC 4-line kit into a true regulated return kit, and that cost me around $300 to do that conversion. Something you can't see is the exhaust. When I bought the truck, I'm happy to say it already had a 4-inch exhaust on it, but it had a muffler, so I bought a muffler delete pipe and straight piped it. That was $30. All of this stuff under the hood you see over here, not pretty, still need to clean it up, but super functional and super handy to have. It is a whole fuse and relay block to run and tie all the different accessories I have on the truck off of that. Super handy. Instead of cluttering up the battery terminals with all of these wiring, it all goes off that. It's all on its fuse circuits. Runs into an upfitter switch panel in the cab, which I'll show you in there. But that's what that is. Honestly, I have no idea what the price is on that. I'm not going to include it, mainly because you can run all that stuff off the batteries if you want. I just chose not to. I think that is just about it under the hood. So let's hop inside and show you what's in there. All right, inside the truck now. It is absolutely cooking in here, so I'm going to try to make this quick. Sorry, the lens is a little close up. I don't have a wider lens, so you guys are going to have to live with it. But like I said before, got the Hydra chip right there, already accounted for the cost. Up here, I have my Edge Insight CTS2, which is how I monitor all my different performance aspects. I believe this I bought at the time for $350, and then all the different sensors and everything I've added onto it over the last few years is probably another $400. So $350 and $400 for that. Down here, You'll see that I have the 08 to 10 center console in my truck. I was finally able to find a decent deal on this. Obviously, it's not the perfect color, but it is what it is. The price was right. The center console with the console itself and buying new mounting brackets was $450. And then up here, you'll see I have an aftermarket radio, stereo. Absolutely love it. Did a whole install on that and review. Super happy with it. But that cost me $306 when all was said and done. From what I've seen, it looks like the Edge Insight prices have gone up. I believe this stereo's price has also gone up. It is what it is. Here's the upfitter switches I was telling you about. You can see they're all wired up and powered up and everything. That's what a lot of the wiring was on that, or that's what all those relays were for, was for these. And then, of course, I got a little installed a USB plug-in that goes to the back of my radio. Not going over the price on that. Here's my hand controls, how I drive, or I guess how I use the pedal and how I use the pedals. That's my hand controls. Price not included on that because it doesn't really apply to you guys. What else? Just got finished soundproofing the entire interior of the truck. Obviously, you can't see any of it, but all the doors are done. The entire floor is covered. I haven't done the roof yet, but I'm sure I will at some point. But that cost me $361 total to do all the soundproofing and the cab of the truck. As far as the interior of the truck goes, I think that's all there really is to look at. Yeah, I can't see or think of anything else back around here. So that's what's done on the inside. And I think that's the end of the tour. So let me get out of the truck, stop sweating my butt off, and let me figure out a total cost. We'll go over a total cost and see how much we actually spent on this thing. And I am back. The verdict is in. The final number has been tallied. Some of you guys may have tallied it along the way, and you already know. But it's a lot. Even more than I expected at the beginning of the video, because there was some stuff I remembered going through everything that I forgot in my initial tally. What is the final number of how much I have spent on my truck? Again, bought the truck for $14,500, and I have spent $15,769 in different modifications, upgrades, changes, and whatnot. And I am sure, without a doubt, I am missing some things. That brings it to a grand total of $30,269 I have invested into this truck. Just letting that sink in a little bit. It does hurt a little bit. Like I said at the beginning, I knew I've put a pretty good amount of money into this truck. I wasn't expecting it to be quite that high. Yeah. So I have no doubt there's going to be quite a lot of people out there that will give me some grief for how much money I've spent on this truck. And I think my response to that would be in a couple of ways. One, don't care so much about what I do with my money, because it's my money, it's not yours. Two, I have paid for all of this stuff out of my own pocket. Not a single piece of it has been paid for me. I'm sure another thing will be, for that much money, you could have bought a much nicer truck by now. You would have been better off doing that. And I can say that I totally think the same thing. A couple things to keep in mind is when I bought this truck 2 or 3 years ago, I didn't have $30,000 sitting in my bank account. I had enough money to buy this truck, and if I had more money, I probably would have bought a different truck. But at the time, this is what I could afford, and it was a damn good truck for the money at the time. That is what I could financially afford without making myself take on truck payments and all of that stuff. if I could go back right now and do it again, would I do the same thing? Yes, but for a few very specific reasons. First and foremost, like I said, at the time, that's the money I had, and this is the truck I could afford. Second reason would be I have learned a ton about the 7.3 Powerstroke and about diesels in general. Just tons of learning over this time frame of doing all this stuff and working on projects and doing stuff I enjoy. Yes, it's spending a lot of money, but doing stuff I enjoy. The third would be something that I don't think a lot of people realize when they're watching channels like this. Obviously, my channel is very small in the realm of YouTube, as far as YouTube things go. But I am not doing YouTube specifically just because I want to make videos and I have a passion for making videos. I enjoy all of this automotive stuff. It's fun to me. I love learning it. I like working on this stuff. I am treating this YouTube channel as a business. And by doing projects that I have been doing over the last few years, it is investing into the business. You can make money off of YouTube, and I do make money off of YouTube. Not a lot. I want to grow this channel into something that can be really cool. One, entertaining for you guys, and two, a source where it allows me to pursue my passions. And that is the main reason I've started this channel and have started doing all this stuff and sharing all of it, is because I have this end goal in my head of having the channel be something that allows me to pursue my passions, and it is moving in the right direction. So would I do it all again? Yes. I've enjoyed learning all this stuff, and if I would have just gone out and bought a 6.7 Powerstroke, a mid-teen 6.7 Powerstroke, I easily could have been making the payments on that instead of been doing all this stuff, based on what I invest into the channel every single month. But if I did that, there would be no content. I would have no money left over to make content for you guys, and the channel wouldn't be anywhere. I would be making truck payments and living my life and just doing that. There's nothing wrong with that. I am just trying to shoot for that higher goal of turning this channel into something bigger. So I don't regret any of the stuff that I've done to it. Obviously, I've made mistakes along the way, and I've paid double on some things, like the fuel system, which wasn't really a mistake. It's more me learning and trying to do things differently. But yes, I've spent a lot of money on all this stuff. No, I don't regret it. As far as return on investment goes, let's say I've spent the $15,000 on upgrades for this truck, and I have made less than half of that back, but a good chunk of it back that I never would have made back without doing what I'm doing here. So partially, thank you to you guys, because if it wasn't for you guys watching these videos, I wouldn't be getting any of that. And two, if I hadn't decided to put in all the work and all the stuff behind the scenes and to do all this extra stuff to show you guys and take you guys along with that, I wouldn't have been getting it either. So I am glad I decided to do all this stuff, and I cannot thank you guys enough for just following along. I'm excited to see where the channel's growing. We're still really small, but it's moving in the right direction, and I'm hoping it keeps going in the right direction, which would allow me to bring a lot more really cool content to you guys and allow me to do stuff that I'm just really interested in. I could make a whole video going off on all of this stuff. By no means am I an expert in it. There's far more successful YouTubers than I am. I'm just kind of making my way and seeing what I can do. You can see that I'm already at 10 minutes or 11 minutes of rambling right now. I'm sure there's something that I meant to talk about that I haven't yet. But overall, that's how much I spent on my truck. So hopefully you guys found this interesting or entertaining. Give you a bit of an insight onto what has gone into building a truck like this. By no means is it a show truck. It's just trying to build something cool, something I find cool, and something that is useful. So hopefully you guys found it entertaining, got some good information out of it. I'm sure there will be some backlash on this video, and I'm sure there will be plenty of support. Either way, I don't mind. To all the people that have followed along and watched the journey, I can't thank you guys enough. You guys are making stuff happen that wouldn't be possible without you guys being willing to do that. So thank you guys very much. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. As always, if you guys like the video, leave it a thumbs up. If you just want to say something, feel free to leave it in the comments. I am currently looking at a very large box in front of me, and I have another project over here that has been getting worked on this last week, so there's still more content coming. Channel's not slowing down anytime soon. So if you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button if you're interested in any of the stuff like this. I'll catch you guys on the next video.